just added a spacer for every set of holes that I was making, right? So I would,
No, you don't have to do that,
yeah,
because you just have to have one hole, one clamp here. And you drill a hole and you push it over and you
Right.
clamp that hole, and you do the next one, you keep doing that.
yeah.
Okay.
And then in the back, I had a stop block in the back, and I indexed the table back and forth too.
And how are you making these black?
Well, that's Gaboon ebony.
Oh, you're using the right.
That's the actual ebony.
So we had the fake ebony that we saw yesterday.
Where? Oh,
When
where?
we were at Peter Chapman's.
Ah, no, this is the real thing.
But in case you have to do something that makes it look like this, what you take maple, I think, and you put it in a solution of
Steel wool and vinegar, right?
Right. Have you done that before?
I have done that. Remember, I was showing you.
You showed us last time.
I think I might still actually have it. Where is it? No,
Okay,
I'll
forget,
have to look. for it.
forget it. I don't even. What is this one here?
Okay, now this is my new laser that I recently added to the shop.
Laser.
So it's just a little 10-watt diode laser, but it does a great job at like engraving, right? Like that's the engraving that I did on that table for you guys, and it can do my logo.
What about cutting?
That sort of thing. Yeah, it can do cutting. So, for example, we were working on a project like this.
Whoa.
We cut all those little holes out with the laser, and did the engraving. And it can get pretty detailed. Like this is the official logo of the coronation for King Charles. So, we were working on some of that kind of thing.
Well, I bought a new laser.
I'm sure you got a much bigger one than this.
No,
Really?
it's a diode laser.
Made by who?
Okay, here's the thing. This is 10
watts. Yeah.
watts. Actually, it's between 10 and 11.
Yeah.
And that's because one diode will give you output of 5.5.
Yeah.
And what they've done is they've columnated it.
Correct.
And
I know that these guys now make a 20-watt version of this that's about the same size, and then they make a 40-watt one that's coming out that's much bigger.
yeah, well, I bought the 32 watt.
Did you?
And it's six of the diodes.
6 of them.
All with the lens through, and you get a much thinner kerf with using, because with this CO2 cartridge, well, the one
Yeah.
it's down below, and they've got to bounce the light up
Through the mirrors and all
so
that.
the light's going over
Yeah.
about 2 meters, and it's going to spread in those 2 meters. And they put the lens on this thing to columnate it
Yeah.
in. But we're going to see. It's been delivered, but it came from
We'll
China.
figure it out when we get there in April. Matt, what is this thing next to
Okay,
you?
well, this is what I was telling you the other day. This is my marquetry. It's called a donkey. In French, they call it a chevalet.
Okay.
And this is technology from like the King Louis XIV period. And it was a tool that was kept secret in the Paris woodworking community because it enabled them to do that really fine marquetry that was so prominent on Louis XIV furniture. This is an example of the kind of work that you can cut with this tool. And it's just allows you to make perfectly perpendicular cuts very, very accurately so that when you assemble the picture, it goes together.
How do you work it?
So the way that this works is you sit on it. Let me get the vacuum out like this. You put your legs on the clamp rest here, and as you press down with your legs, you're closing the vise here, which is where you're cutting right here in front of you. And so you're moving the saw blade back and forth like this, and this really tiny blade is cutting through a packet of veneers here. So that's the way that this works. I made this back in Cincinnati, back in probably like 2004 or something like that, out of all recycled oak material that I picked up at a reuse store. So it was
Fantastic. Did you have a blueprint for it, or I mean?
Yeah, we were looking at some designs, but we did a lot of interpreting as well, because there wasn't really a full set of blueprints for it, and you had to kind of adapt. But we had all the basics.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. But this is technologies from the 1700s. That's technology from the current day, right?
Exactly.
They kind of do the same thing.
Yeah.
And then moving on, just DeWalt table saw here that I've had since I really got into woodworking. Nice cast iron top. We added a cast iron extension to
this
it
is
for the router.
Yeah.
So use the same fence, or I can add an auxiliary fence to it. And then the rest of the equipment is pretty much standard for what you would expect in a wood shop. 14-inch Rikon bandsaw here. I do have a crosscut saw, but I never use that for woodworking as far as puzzle making goes. It's more for a construction type of application. The DeWalt planer is a pretty standard kind of planer. I use that
Yeah, we
all
have
the
lots
time.
of puzzles.
Yeah, and we got some puzzles that we're going to look at.
Puzzles.
And then I have a scroll saw that I enjoy using as well for more delicate kind of work, like that cutout up on the wall there of the Tree of Life. And then 6-inch jointer for truing up stock and being able to get the material that I need for.
What's this thing?
This is a
I don't know what that
little
is.
4-inch belt sander.
Oh, okay.
It's a
Oh,
portable-
we just saw that.
Yeah, it's a portable model, and it can convert between the individual spindle. So you have spindles like this on
Right.
on rubber, and you can replace that belt sander with these for different applications.
You build all your tables.
This is my I built this workbench about
That's-
4 years ago, I guess it was.
It's a pretty fancy workbench, man.
It's a pretty. It looks better than it actually like as far as the material goes. It's all southern yellow pine,
Okay.
and we hammer veneered it with walnut veneer, and I did the Greek key motif around the bottom just to fancy it up a little bit. But yeah, it's been really solid, and it's worked really
My
really
goodness.
well for me.
Hey, Cosmo.
And then the rest of the hand tools and everything are just up on hooks on the wall, and the bench is screwed into the wall, so it's nice and solid. And that's where I do most of my assembly work and finishing work and that sort of thing.
Wow.
Got a little oven here going too.
It's been a little bit chilly at night, so I've got my heater going, and that's enough to just keep it from getting too
Cold down here.
cold in here.
And then this back here is your exhaust system?
That is my dust collector in there.
Okay.
And it's just a standard woodworking cheapie from Harbor Freight. I've added a separate dust collector in front of it, like a separator bin. That captures about 90% of the dust before it gets to the unit itself. And then I added that canister filter to really separate out the really fine dust, and that does a great job. Otherwise, you get all that dust in the air that settles on everything and makes everything really dusty. And then all my jigs up on the wall there for the table saw, and for the router table for I use that for making stock really nice and square and straight for my puzzles, and then the diagonal jig for making all the coffin polyhedral shapes.
Right.
And then my wood storage, a lot of my lumber is here on the wall and standing up, and a lot of offcuts from different exotics that I've used, and finishing supplies and all that sort of thing. So
Wow.
could be more organized, but
I think it's pretty good.
usable.
I think it's more organized than some others I've seen.
Take a view of this end here.
That's
That's the pine crosscut.
this right here, the table.
The end grain on the pine from the
That's
from
pretty
the
cool.
bench material, yeah.
Yeah.
And you can see how it
Is that bolted together, that bench, or is it glued together?
the whole thing's glued together. Yeah, there's no iron in there whatsoever.
Or do you have, where are your clamps, the big clamps?
I
got
have
some on the wall.
some over there, and then the clamp rack is there.
Oh, there's the big ones,
Yeah,
yeah.
I use those quite a bit.
Did you make the clamp rack or did you buy it?
No, the
They sell
clamp rack
these?
is just from Rockler, I believe. Yeah, so you can buy those.
And so the question I like to ask people was, what's the correct number of?
You can never have too many clamps. I don't care how many clamps you have, you always need more.
That's
Yeah,
the
so
correct answer.
that's definitely the way
This
that
is
I think
this is
about
George getting ready to say, I want to buy some more
it.
clamps.
Yeah, no, you can never have enough clamps.
I don't want to buy any more clamps. What I want to buy is this whole damn thing.
Yeah, I know.
It's a beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's clean,
Workshop.
which is just, amazing.
What's the delta? There's just air conditioning?
No, that's another room dust collector. So if I'm working on something that's created a lot of dust that is in the air, I can run that and it filters it out of the air before it gets a chance to settle too much. So just to help keep it clean. But since I'm a one-man shop, I'm using one machine at a time, and I just have my dust collector hose and attach it to each individual machine. And that's why everything is kind of within a 20-foot radius here of the
How many
dust
blades
collector.
do you have?
I have about 5 different ones. That's my most recent one. And the difference with this one is that this is actually a carbide tipped blade. So each one of those teeth is a carbide tip, just like you would have on a table saw blade.
So
that will last much longer than my other ones.
Yeah, but I feel like butter pushing through.
Yeah, it feels really. It cuts like butter. Exactly, is the way to say that. And I use that for making all of the veneers that I use, especially on some of the puzzle
Oh,
boxes.
really?
Yeah. So
You make your own veneers?
yeah. So for example, this is the kind of veneer that I would be making with that for use on the puzzle boxes that I'm making, which is much thicker than the
Normal,
typical
right.
than the typical veneers that you would see. Yeah. And then I wanted to bring these out to show you, because these are the actual. I meant to bring these out earlier. But these are the puzzle boxes that I made at that course that I was out at with Kagan.
Oh, yeah.
So let me show you how these work.